We off in this place, catching vibes, sit back and we blaze in the sky like I'm out of space.
I'm mute. What's going on, cigar world? What's going on, cigar enthusiasts? This is Jack, the cigar enthusiast.
It's your boy Johnny, the cigar banker.
And we back with another segment of the virtual smoke deck, man. Hey, look, it must be Robert, because every time he comes on, man, we start having some type of problems in the background. But we ain't gonna stop, because we're gonna let this stuff grind, man. Man, what's going on, everybody, man? I hope everybody had a amazing week. I hope they're having an amazing Sunday. Man, we're ready to get back and rocking, locked and loaded, and ready to give y'all a show, man. Johnny, how was your week?
Man, it's been good, man. I flew back into Charleston from DC this morning, man. And besides the BS with American Airlines, man, I'm glad to be smoking right now, man. Oh my God.
I'm trying to tell you, between you and Robert on this this American airline thing, man, we're going to have to get that fixed, man.
Yo,
we're going to write our congressman or something.
Yo, and then the bad thing about it, man, was I couldn't smoke at my sister's house.
Oh, what?
Yeah, because she lived in this residential area where it's smoke free, so I was hurt.
Oh my God! If they don't get that crap out of here, what is that?
I was hurt, man. You might as well be Antichrist.
Man, look, it gets to a point now. It's like, come on, guys, you got every time you turn around, there's some crybaby bull crap going on. And all the whatever, man. Don't get me started. Don't get me started, man. Man, I had a great week, man. This week has been very, very productive, man. We doing some big things here in Jacksonville. You know, getting our next lounge ready, and talking to, it's crazy how God works, man. Because I'm trying to tell you, when he wants you to do something, boy, they start coming out the woodworks. And
you're preaching,
man. We got people like high up officials talking about some. Hey, man, we need you to open up X, Y, and Z here ASAP. Wow. And I'm like, bro, you got a cigar lounge already there? They're like, nah, not one like this. So
we want that with D's.
Hey, they want the D's, boy. Hey, look, hey, man. But yeah, man. So it's been a crazy week, but super proactive. And everything we doing, man. So, man, how was your trip?
Man, it was good, man. I got to check out a cigar shop called Cigar Time, man, and a lot of you, they showed me mad love, man.
I just heard about that one.
Yo,
I just heard about that one.
Mad love, and it was not so small, intimate shop, man. Because I was going on a day and a half with no cigar, so I was hurt, man. I was like, I got to go. I took my sister's car. And they showed me mad love, man. So shout out to Cigar Time, man, and Jay, man. Thanks for the love,
man. Shout out to them boys over there doing them things, selling. Hopefully, hey, they better have some of the best cigars in their humidor, man.
Dog, it was stocked, man. It was nice, man. It was nice. I tried the new Davidoff, the 2022 limited edition.
Yeah,
great smoke, man. It smoked beautiful. Really? Oh yeah,
man. I see the Winston Churchill one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Man, I see that thing just came out, man. I haven't personally smoked it yet. But I heard some mixed reviews on it. But I mean, you can never go wrong with that, man.
Never.
You can never go wrong. You can't go wrong with having that. Sorry, y'all. You can't go wrong with having that great cigar. But man, one cigar that you can't go wrong is from my guy that we have on the show today, man. Man, hey, we got Mr. Caldwell himself, man, the man, the myth, the legend. Here in the room, he waiting for the click in, man. But we gotta get Robert the proper introduction, man. You know what I mean? Hey, I think hands down this guy outside of Matt Booth, I think he's a little bit more interesting but funner than Matt Booth. But interesting to say the least is more the topic that we like to lean on. They both crazy as hell.
Yes.
They both ain't got no sense. So I mean, it kind of like flows hand in hand with each other, man. But man, our guest for today, man, is the legend, man. He's out here making what we know as the Lost and Founds, the Ratata, the Caldwell, the Eastern Standard.
Blind Man's Bluff.
Blind Man's Bluff. You just made me the Mad Mofo. He just came out with the Mad Mofo Cigars for Warrior Edition, man. That really goes to helping, the Cigar for Warriors be able to get get cigars to people like me and you back when we were trying to smoke them. Man, let's introduce our guest of the hour. man, the no other than Robert Caldwell from Caldwell Cigars. What's going on, champ?
It was good,
What's
brother.
up, man? How you guys doing? Matt Booth has fucking nothing on me, by the way. Zero. Fuck Matt Booth.
Hey, look. I'll let you say that, man. Hey, when I say that though, Matt's a very interesting character. Y'all both, y'all like in person, y'all are freaking hilarious, man.
He's one of my best friends. Even like nothing to do with cigar industry. Actually, we've been friends. I met him in Honduras when he was starting his brand years ago. And we stayed friends the whole time. And I mean, I talk to him every day. We vacation together, like with our girls and shit. So he's inside the industry. He's my best friend. Outside the industry, he's one of my top 5 for sure. So
man, look, that's what it's all about, though, man.
Yeah.
You got to have those people that's within the industry that's doing, have kind of like-minded experiences that you could really click to.
Matt and I are going to do a podcast.
Ooh. What?
We're gonna start doing our own podcast, and we're gonna start interviewing people that interview us.
Oh, are you serious?
Yeah.
Hey,
I'm gonna send you an email because I need podcast equipment, but this is a real thing.
Hey, I got you. You. And on top of that, I want to be me and Johnny can be your first guest.
There you go.
Listen.
Not that you're gonna have that problem. I mean, people are gonna be knocking down the door like, "Hey, can we please get on there?" Y'all gotta play off each other. Nah, fuck that, man. We can't get you on here because you trash. Hey, look, hey, no, just kidding, man. Hey, man, Robert, we've been trying to do this for a while now, man.
I know,
man. First time we were just talking about it in the background. First time we were supposed to do this was when Facebook had the catastrophic meltdown, like a meltdown that we have never seen before happen.
That's when life stopped, man.
Man, I'm trying to tell you. Like I didn't really get how like life stopped like that, but it really like hold on. Facebook is down. Everybody stop what you're doing. Stop what you're doing. But we were supposed to get you on then, and then something else came up. We were supposed to get you, but man, now we're here in the flesh, man. So we want to first and foremost appreciate you, man. I got a bunch load of questions. I know Johnny got some questions for you, man. And we're gonna get this thing going. Last time you was in Nicaragua, so I would have loved to have, just kind of been like, I don't know, it made me feel like I was there or something like that. But now you're up the street now.
Yep.
Hey, so tell us about this podcast. What the podcast gonna be about?
I have no fucking idea. I was talking to Matt one day, and I was just like, we should do our own podcast. But I don't think it's gonna be cigar related. I think it'll be a little bit cigar related. Like obviously it'll have some cigar stuff, but I think just to talk about random shit, like kind of a recap of what happened in the week, or a recap of what happened the last 2 weeks, kind of like just a bullet point, going over shit and having like different people talk on. Yeah, like lounge talk, like lounge exactly. Talk. Yeah. Current events, what's going on, ridiculous shit, and just discussing it.
And that's kind of like what we try to focus on here, man. I hate. Man, don't you hate? And you could be honest or you can agree, but don't you hate when like people get you on this podcast to ask you the same thing that they asked you, that the people just asked you last night on this podcast, and be like, "Hey, so what's your thoughts? Did you watch last night?"
It's not as bad as in real life, because sometimes, well, I mean, you do an event, and you can't help it, and you got to do what you got to do. But you'll sit there and you'll have a conversation with somebody. They'll ask you. You puke everything. And the guy walks away. Next guy walks up. And he's like, "So, how'd you get started?" And it's like,
same shit.
You like, where did you just listen to the conversation that we just had?
Yeah, I mean, you got to do it. That's part of the game. But sometimes you're just like, fuck. Like, I remember one time, I think I told my story like 16 times in the course of a day, between walking in stores and, pitching store owners to talking to customers at the stores. And then that night I did an event, and I was just like, the next day I was like, I'm just going to say, I don't know. Like I haven't moved yet. So.
Hey, it's like, yo, it's like, seriously, How many times can you ask that same question? As a matter of fact, bring Cigar Journal over, bring CA over. Let's ask that question. Let's put it on so you can say, hey, go grab that magazine.
Well, the worst part about it is guys are like, they'll ask you that question, but thinking that it's, like a 15-second answer. Like the answer is like, oh, my dad did it and then I inherited the company or some shit like that. Something real fucking easy. And I mean, it's like a 20-minute answer, So I don't know.
It's just one of those things where it's like, man, the kind of stuff gets old, and it's like, let's just have different conversations. Like, so how was TPE so me and Johnny had a conversation about what we thought TPE was like from more of a retailer / consumer / well, Johnny quit the shop that he was working at this week. So
I didn't quit, man.
What
you
store
do?
was that?
Quit has such a negative connotation because that's still my stomping grounds. It was Kingsleaf
and Goose Creek. It was
Exactly.
Kingsleaf and Goose Creek. Yeah, he froze up. But it was Kingsleaf and Goose Creek, Charleston, South Carolina. I think he used to like rotate between the different stores or something like that. But maybe when he jumps back on, he could tell it. But so we was talking about TPE from like what he thought was, what he thought from, a tobacconist standpoint, what I thought from a retailer standpoint. So what was your thoughts of it from a manufacturer standpoint?
Well, comparing TPE to TPE, because that's what you got to compare it to. Like year over year, the last 3 years, it's gone. Like it's probably 10 times bigger than it was 3 years ago for premium cigars. I think it doubled or tripled in size from last year in terms of customers coming and like the space that the premium cigar section took. Because the first time that we attended TPE, there was one booth that was shared by like 10 guys, which I'm sure you saw those booths, that there was a couple that had like 10 companies inside. There was one of those with 10 companies, and that was the whole show for cigars, which I think was 4 years ago. So from there to where they got now, I think is an incredible accomplishment. And so for us, I mean, the first year I didn't attend because I knew it was a vape and cigarette and whatever show. The next year I did, which was the year of COVID, 2020. And it was fine. I mean, we spent most of the time talking to other manufacturers because there wasn't a ton of business to be done just because there weren't that many stores that attended. And then last year, it was much better, and we wrote business, and we had our own booth last year. And this year it was like a fucking proper trade show. I mean, we were busy the whole time. We wrote a lot of orders. There were a lot more cigar stores present, I feel, than the years past. I mean, it's still not as big as an attendance as PCA by any means in terms of, viable retailers that attend. But that being said, if they keep doing what they've been doing, I mean, they'll be bigger than PCA in a year or two maximum.
Wow. Really?
Wow.
Yeah. Because they've grown that much.
Wow.
So even on like the cigar side, y'all did a lot of it was a lot of retailers and different things of that nature out there.
I mean, we wrote 10 times more dollars than we did last year.
Wow.
So it's grown like that.
But in comparison to PCA though, like how's the numbers in relation to that?
Well, let's say 60% of the sales, but that's not an accurate number because a lot of our sales come from, Cigars International, JR, like the majors, where they buy big anyways.
Yeah.
So if you take them out, I'd say PCA revenue for brick and mortar retail is probably 10 times greater than TPE is. So, I mean, it's still noticeably more.
Yeah.
But last year was like 100 times more.
Wow.
And the year before that was probably 1,000 times. I mean, it's so that's my point is that if these guys keep doing what they're doing, they're going to overtake that show pretty quickly, I think, as a viable point of sale for manufacturers.
And do you think that TPE is like do you think there's because the TPE is growing so massive because people just simply want to get away from PCA?
I think it's a bunch of things. I think it's a better time of year. I mean, it's not hot as hell, right? And so this time of year as well, like if you're in Florida or you're in Arizona or California, Texas, you're going to be busy. If you're anywhere else, you're not going to be busy. It's a slow time of year where people can get away. Yeah. Also, so inexpensive time in Vegas is January.
Yeah.
It's also in the summer, but January is, cheaper flights, cheaper hotels. So it's affordable where the summer is as well. But it's not like you're doing the show in March when it's very expensive in Vegas. Yeah. So it's still reasonable. And I think that there's also, like with COVID, effectively, I think ending right now. I think there's a lot of demand for people just to get the fuck out.
Yeah.
Of their, they want to get out, they want to socialize, they want to see people. So I think that all those things have helped it, but I think that also, manufacturers are investing more. Like, listen, Davidoff, General, Altadis, Drew Estate are not doing PCA anymore, and you saw Drew Estate's booth at TPE. Yeah. That was a proper fucking booth.
Yeah.
Last year they weren't there.
Really?
Yep. So, and then I think we doubled our booth space next year for TPE, which, it was still small, but we went from 22 booths at PCA to 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're going to keep 1. We're not going bigger than that. It's not worth it.
Yeah.
And PCA, we went from 1 to 2 to now I think we're doing 4 next year.
At TPE.
Yeah. Because the show is great. Like, here's the thing. This year, we didn't have enough booth space. We needed seats. We needed to have people be able to sit down and relax. But we weren't expecting it to be. Did you guys attend last year?
I did.
TPE?
Yeah.
Nah, I didn't go to TPE.
Oh, so I
have never been to TPE.
Oh, okay.
Because, like, from a retail standpoint, I've heard that it's like it's a show that's kind of
cigarette, vape, CBD, 100%. But what I'm saying is, let's say you had a 500 square feet of cigar. Now you have 50,000 square feet of cigar. So it's real. And then it used to be like, I remember the first time I went, guys walk by and they're like, do you have blunt wraps? And I'm like, fuck you. Those were the questions. Or hey, have you seen the guys that sell bath salts? And it's like, yeah, they're like aisle 6 next to the fucking girls that are take marijuana. But those were the questions you got. Or do you know where the candle guy is? Whatever. This year it was actually like we did business.
Wow. And that was and that's like the nightmare that I've heard. I also hear that it's like a lot of people that's just like kind of not in the cigar industry, but they're not in the cigar industry, if that makes sense. Like they just.
But PCA had that also. PCA had a lot of that.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, I think that's a new thing. That's kind of, it's part of what's going on right now. I think in the world in general, the 1 foot in, 1 foot out people, or
kind of switching things. Hey, look, lost and found blunt wraps. There you go.
I'm all day. Send me a check. I'm there.
Lost and found blunt wraps. So kind of shifting gears into understanding obviously the difference between the shows from a manufacturer standpoint. What's the advantage of getting? Do you see this more of an advantage to get retailers out there?
At TPE?
Yeah.
If they keep paying people's plane tickets in hotels, I think so.
They're paying people plane tickets in hotels? Hey, TPE, where you at? I'm on my way.
No, go and do. They don't do it the whole time, but the early registration they pay. They like you don't have to pay.
Say less. When is early
They're fucking gunning. They're gunning. They're gunning. They're not playing around.
So what do you feel like? Kind of very much so switching gears. What do you feel like is the biggest threat to cigars right now in 2022 that we need to be looking out at?
Matt Booth. Public enemy number 1.
Let me tag Matt Booth in this, man.
You have to.
Oh man.
Where are we at with minutes? You gotta tell them what minute we were at. 21 and a half minutes.
21 and 50. I would say 45, just so you can catch it up. But hey, that's hilarious, man. That is freaking hilarious. Johnny, go ahead, man.
Hey man, we're gonna start a war in here, man. God, dog.
Nah, but I think the biggest threat to cigars, I would say pipeline supply inflation is one side of the coin.
Yeah.
And then the back side of that coin is going to be too much product.
Yeah.
So right now it's like, oh my God, nobody can get cigars, right? So stock up, buy as many fucking rings and boxes and raw material and tobacco and cigars as you can. And then when stuff gets more normal, you're going to be overloaded with shit.
Stuck with a lot of shit, yeah.
And probably brands like mine won't. But guys like General Altadis, these guys probably will. And then what are they going to do? And so this is a threat to cigars. So it's not a bad thing, but it's a threat to cigars. So then what do? They do crazy deals, right? And I think that day's coming, where you're going to have a dilution attempt maybe by major manufacturers against smaller manufacturers because they're going to have pricing power because they're going to have oversupply that they have to get rid of. So I think that's going to be like, I think that this whole supply chain inflation, can't get cigar bullshit's going to really end up very poorly for smaller cigar makers because a lot of the small guys ourselves, well, we've had product and we have product, we're fine, but a lot of guys haven't had product or they've had major fucking back orders and this and all these supply chain kinks. So what are they doing? They're ordering more, but the big guys are ordering more. And at the end of the day, a small guy has enough, they can sell it, whatever. The big guys are going to have a harder time. And then I think you're 18 months away from crazy as fuck trade show deals with the big guys. And that's going to damage the small guys because we can't compete with the deals that those guys throw.
Hey, so Chad, I think you both can answer this question here, man. From a retailer standpoint, because you're on the retail side, do you think an oversaturation could play a part in like doing damage to the cigar culture as well?
I think absolutely, because right now, from a retail standpoint, at least I can speak for mine, we buy inventory. So we ensure that we have at least 2 to 3 boxes, sometimes 4 to 10, depending on the brand, depending on how well it sells throughout a month. But we have that on hand at all times. So you think some of these brands that you're out here going by, some are right now doing 8 and 1s and 8 and 2s and shit like that. And it's like you want to get the inventory, but once you get the inventory, where is one, where do you put it? And then 2, like how fast can you actually move it? Because in retail space, it's just like manufacturing. Once they get the box of cigars shipped into the United States, they're trying to figure out where can they get that product sent to so they can start collecting the money on that. Same concept. Once we get it, is what customers can we get it to so we can move the product? Yeah. And I also think inflation of not only cigar lounges but also people trying to get into this cigar lounge and cigar area and not really knowing what they're doing is.
Absolutely.
Robert could tell you from his standpoint too. From the little guys is trying to invade into the industry but not doing it the right way. And I think from the concept, I think that runs a risk in my personal opinion.
I agree, man. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. I say this all the time, man. There's a premium attached to this industry, man. And a lot of people are trying to forfeit that premium. And, I say that shit 24/7, man.
Facts. What's your thoughts, Rob?
Well, I just said them.
You the fuck out of me, all right? I was just trying to see if it changed, God, maybe I said something that changed it as well.
Nothing.
Like bring value and something.
No, that's it. That's it. I dropped the mic when I was done talking, man. I didn't hear you.
Hey, but Johnny, from a standpoint of looking at it, he's absolutely right. I think inflation is big. So right now, from the retail side, we're being pushed from like big companies to bring more product in because we don't know when the next time it's going to be here. You have an increase of cigar prices, which I don't think yours was too bad, Robert. I think yours was like a 75 cents to $1. Some went up. Some went up too.
Well, no, it was $1 retail.
Yeah, that's what. But gotcha.
Yeah, and we should have done more, but it's a hard pill to swallow to go more than that when you're our size.
Yeah,
because you don't know how the customer is going to react to it.
No, and I had one of my cigars that they raised the price on me 30% at the factory level. So but you with 50 cents that doesn't do shit. $1, you're still, I mean, you're not making the same margin. You're losing money versus where you were a year ago. But I can't raise it more than $1 because all of a sudden it's gonna affect the sales. So but that I mean that was a big click, and that caught us off guard. And it was like, hey, your next shipment it's going up 30%, and then so we were able to $1 at retail, but at $1 at retail we're not losing money making the cigar, but we're losing money over where we were a year ago in terms of cost.
Yeah. So
we're making less money on the cigar.
Well,
and who knows if they're going to raise it again, which I imagine they will.
Is that Connecticut broadleaf?
No, that's the blind man stuff coming out of Honduras.
Yeah. I hear, Alan Rubin was telling me about how Honduras prices is going up, and like they're starting to value their tobacco a little bit more, or whatever the case may be. But I've been hearing that Honduras has been one of the biggest jumps outside of like Connecticut broadleaf, right?
Yeah. Well, the other thing too with Honduras is that the way that they set up the pay there, so Honduras, if you're paid, let's say $3,000 a year or dollar equivalent a year, your pay at the end of the year, whatever the inflationary rate was, you have to pay that back to the factory workers or to whatever employee. So if inflation was 7% and you're paying $3,000, you got to turn around and give everybody a check for $210 at the end of the year.
Wow.
So, I mean, and you have no way of I mean, you could say, okay, inflation is going to run 10 or 12% or whatever it's going to run this year. Because in those countries, usually it's hotter than it is here.
Yeah.
So you can kind of like gauge that, but you don't really know. Yeah. So retroactive pay raises are really hard to kind of factor. And so, I mean, I think that's driving part of the cost there. I don't know if Nicaragua is the same thing, but Honduras runs that way, which is really complicated.
And I think right now is going crazy. I think one comparable that we can utilize is the housing market. I think housing market right now is going to go through. Realtors that sit here and try to tell you, hey, housing market is not going anywhere. It's good. It's safe.
I say
but
BS.
It really is. It really is. Like with the stock market going down the way it's going, you have interest rates going down the way they're going. You have so many different things, kind of contributing to this chaos. Man, this job is gonna crash. Like we were gonna buy another house, and I'm like, hell no. When I look at the prices, I'm like, bro. But again, you look at the cigar side. A cigar that used to be $13 is $15 now.
Easy.
Something that used to be $7 is $9 now. So it's like, what do you do?
Yeah.
What do you do? And it's like, at the end of the day, we're gonna keep smoking, but shoot, it's like, I mean, and to be honest with you though, like from my standpoint, sales have been the same, if not better. Yeah. So again, it's still growing, but again, to Robert's point, when it gets to that point, it's got to everything that goes up must come down.
You think it might be a lag because of the pandemic, man? Like even in sales, man. Like I know at the shop that I was at, man. What was that? We in 2022. So 2020 was the best year we ever had. 2020, 2021. That was the best year we ever had for that shop, man. So you think that it'll be a lag in that decline because of the pandemic? Being that folks, chilling at the house, got more time on their hand, or
yeah.
The pandemic, they started smoking.
So what happened with the pandemic? Obviously, nobody traveled. Very few people went out to eat. Government sent checks, right? So there was all this income. And then what did people do? They turned around and bought shit.
Yeah.
So the imports, and here's where this all stemmed from. So the imports to the United States rose 20% during the pandemic, right? 20%. So 20% more shit was sent in than prior to the pandemic, right? Then you had ports that were running at limited capacity because there were COVID outbreaks at a lot of the ports on the West Coast, because most of your shit comes from China. So most of that shit's coming into California, Oregon, Washington State. And these guys had all these requirements and a lot of bullshit and a lot of weird rules. So like California, I was listening to a podcast this week that was talking about the trucking industry in California. So a lot of times these containers come off the ships, they get stacked up at the port and they get transferred to a truck yard where then it goes on an 18-wheeler across the country. but they can only stack the containers too high at these truck yards, which apparently is like you can't get a lot of fucking containers in, right? And then you got all these boats backed up in the middle of the ocean, all the boats backed up coming into port 100 miles offshore. Then you have all the boats sitting next to the port, the boats in the port, the containers in, and this is everybody spending all this money for like a fucking year and a half because they're not traveling, they're not going out to eat the way they were prior. So it ramped up demand for all this imported shit, which completely clogged the supply chain. And that's what drove the inflation that we're seeing now is just supply and demand. And it's not the fact that it can't be produced, it's the fact that it can't come in because you have all these kinks in the the supply chain in terms of actually delivering it. And then so that fucks everything up. And then guys start ordering way more shit thinking, okay, this is the new reality that we're facing is we're going to sell 20% more than we did last year because we sold 20% more the last 2 years over the year prior. And then so ordering's going up and this type of thing. And so I don't know. I mean, so I think I think common sense says as soon as this shit's normal, you get on a plane and you fly somewhere and you go out to eat because depending where you live, like we're in states that are kind of like pretty fucking normal. Like Jacksonville, you guys didn't even have the pandemic in Jacksonville ever. Miami, we have a left-leaning mayor for the city of Miami proper and Miami Beach also. So they tried to like do shit until the governor's like, you can't do anything and stopped those cities from doing what they wanted to do because they wanted to have like Miami Beach had like an outside mask mandate and shit for like 10 minutes.
For like 10 minutes.
But a lot of the country, I mean, like I was just in California. You got to wear a mask inside again, and people are still kind of freaked out. Or I was with a friend of mine, and he was going to a get together, and it was at a restaurant, but it was on the terrace because they can't have all these people inside, and everybody was paranoid of being inside together. So once that kid's life goes back to normal, he used to go to New York. He used to travel. He used to come to Florida. Now he's like shell shocked from living in California doing these things. So I think a lot of people, I think the snap back to normal when it comes is going to pull a lot of money out of people having, money laying around to buy shit with, and it'll go from spending money on objects to spending money on experiences.
Yeah.
Because if they feel like they missed all those experiences the whole time.
100%. And I mean, even look, it happens to me. Like I went to Europe 3 times last year, which is pretty good. But before the pandemic, I'd go 6 times. I flew 75,000 miles last year. Before the pandemic, I flew 120. Now, 2020, I flew like maybe 50,000 miles. I didn't go to Europe at all. But right now on this trip, like I would have stayed on that trip for a month. I was happy to just like switch it up and do different shit. And I've been in Florida. I mean, it's been open here for like
since damn near
forever. I mean, you had like a month that was kind of weird, and then it's been normal. But just mentally knowing that you can't go anywhere you want to go and you can't do anything you want to do nationally or internationally, I think causes this like, it builds this desire to do that. Like, okay, what can I do that I couldn't? Like, I can't go to Japan right now. I've never fucking been to Japan. I want to go to Japan because I can't.
Yeah.
It's Cuban cigar syndrome. Like, none of us can go to fucking Australia.
Yeah.
So I really want to go to Australia now because you told me I can't have it.
Because I can't have it.
So I don't know. So I figure there'll be a lot of people like.
And I think you'll have a lot of fun in Japan too. I've been to Yokosuka, Sasebo, and Okinawa, man. So.
Did you have fun, Jack?
Hey, shit, did I? Stay away from the Habasaki. I'll tell you that much. The Habasaki has a snake in it. Man, look. God. Hey, they tell you, hey, look, Johnny, you will even have this problem. You take one shot of Habasaki, brother, it's done.
It's done.
You're done. You're done. And then they got these they got this stuff called like beef bowls, man. Man, them beef bowls, boy. I don't know who mama in the back, but you seen that one TikTok where they go back to be like, who made this? Who made this? And he like, God damn, this good, man.
Golly.
That's how it is. So kind of switching gears, man. Getting back into the normal things of business and different things of that nature. What is some of the things that is there some new projects that you're working on for 2022? And you have any information on them?
We got Well, we're bringing back Anastasia
Okay.
in a couple months. So that's like I got a helicopter above me, so sorry about the noise. But that's been meaning to be coming out for the last couple of years. We just haven't been able to get it out just because everything's been fucked up. So that's coming, and then trying to think, we got a few things on the burner. We have a project that's very cool that we haven't announced yet, but it's all around like craft and very special sizes and very special blends. So that's coming out. It's a Caldwell thing, so that's coming out. It'll be cool. I mean, like, you know, shit you don't see every day. Lonsdale's, Petite Coronas, like all really small, special gourmet sizes. Really, and like every month will be a new creation. Some will be under Caldwell brands, and some won't be, but it'll have like kind of this mothership concept behind it. And then we're doing an extension to Mad Mofo, later on in the year.
So which one are you most excited to, to try to figure out what the consumer is going to really think about it?
The micro project thing.
The micro project.
It's because it's cool as shit. So like one of the brands is called Louis the Last.
Louis the Last.
So it's just like clean box. It says Louis the Last on it, like really cool. I'll show you. But super clean. And then I don't know, cigar inside, it's fucking amazing. Like it's stuff that I know I can't sell a lot of.
Yeah.
But I wish I could because they're that good. And actually, that's how I felt about Anastasia the whole time. Because Anastasia, until it was gone, it wasn't a cigar that performed very well. So this is trying to see if I can get it.
Back it up just a little bit, and then turn it like face it all the way to the camera. Face it all the way to the camera, like this. All right, now back it up. There you go.
Got it.
Okay.
Dope.
So that's gonna be like a Last Czar inside there, but Petite Corona size.
Right.
And then it'll come in that box that's super clean, and it'll be a special drop of Last Czar, but it'll come out under that project. And there's all sorts of different ones, and everyone's got a different name.
Yeah.
And then they're all different sizes. But these are like, I'm not gonna sell 20,000 Last Czar Petite Coronas.
Yes.
I wish I would, but it's not going to happen. So there's 2,000 of them.
Okay. So it's going to be very limited.
Very limited, yeah.
Yeah, super small drops. And we're probably going to do like a retail program, with like 40, 50 retailers or something. And everybody can get a couple boxes a month.
Yeah.
And but it's more like kind of a legacy fun project than anything, to create good shit, fun shit. So we have the first one that's coming, I think next month, it's all the Eastern Standard brands. And it's coming. There are 100 Boveda acrylic humidors, like the small ones.
Okay.
And it's got an Eastern Standard brass emblem on the top. And then inside are Eastern Standard Sun Grown. There's one called Eastern Savage, which is a hybrid of Eastern Standard and Savage. So it's Eastern Standard with a Savage wrapper. It's super cool. Yeah. And then Midnight Express. So they'll be stacked up in there, 27 cigars. Yeah. And then so that's the first creation, but then with that, so it's a 5 1/4 by 42.
Okay.
So nice little size.
Yeah.
And then we're going to release 100 boxes of each of those together with those little humidors. So that's the first. What's that?
And what's the retail price on that?
I think those are like $9.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah,
for the whole entire box?
90.
Okay.
Yeah, or maybe 180, because I don't know if those are, I can't remember if they're 10s or 20s actually.
Okay.
I think they're 10s.
So what's the story behind them?
Those cigars?
Yeah, or just like you said these are more of they're more legacy, feeling and different. So what's the story behind them?
So some of them are going to be our brands. So some will be like a Last Czar, like Louis the Last is a Last Czar, right? And then these are all Eastern Standard. And then you might have but then some of them are going to just be like blends, like that we never released. So kind of like the story behind it is, I don't know who just wrote something like, do I ever get blending fatigue?
Yeah, I'm about to bring that back here in a second.
So it's actually just the opposite of that. It's like we have our core brands that we have, and we're constantly creating shit that we like. So some of these will be blends that we created that we think are fucking amazing that we haven't yet released and we're not going to release because we just want to, you know, like you can't release 1 million cigars, right?
Yeah, fact.
So okay, this is a great blend. We're doing, you know, 5,000 cigars, but it is what it is, little special project. And then the other ones, like I don't know. I smoke a 5 1/4 by 42. A lot of our blends I make in that size and I enjoy it. Or Last Czar, I have the Petite Corona. So just because we make a cigar doesn't mean necessarily that we smoke that size. Like sometimes we fuck around and we have fun and we come up with different sizes that we really like, you know, and I'm a small ring gauge guy. So the story behind it's basically just like, what does Robert Caldwell smoke? Right. So these are the cigars that I blend for myself, or I blend for fun, or the love of making something new in terms of flavor, or I like small ring gauges. So like, I mean, I got humidors full of art production cigars in sizes that don't exist that I like to smoke, which are all small rings. So it's really just kind of fun to share that with the consumers.
Yeah.
So that's the idea behind it.
You know, everybody is looking for that too. It's like, what do each one of these manufacturers, you know, or these blenders actually smoke? So Rodney had a question that says, Robert, is there a such thing as blending fatigue? If so, how do you combat it?
So I mean, that was kind of like I was saying, it was the opposite of what I just said. So blending fatigue in terms of working on a blend and not being able to blend what you want to blend, absolutely. I think you burn out. So that's kind of like the part A of the question, depending on how you interpret it. But there's been cigars that I wanted to create that I got so close to and I just can't do it. And you burn out and you're like, fuck it. And then, so King is Dead is one of those cigars. Like I started blending that cigar like 5 or 6 years before we actually had the blend with Caldwell, and I could never get the blend right. But it was always a hobby. So I'd kind of like come back to it and keep working on it. And I knew what I wanted to build, but it was very hard to build it. But then there's cigars you give up on. It's like, oh, this is an amazing wrapper. You know, the wrapper's so great, but you can't make it work. And you spend too much time on it and you're just like, fuck it, and you throw in the towel. But then in terms of tinkering with stuff, or like, oh, here's a new tobacco, or let's see what we can play with this, I think that's the fun of experimenting. You know, I like to always correlate working on a blend like cooking. Like I think a lot, you know, you can cook to eat, like get up and cook something to survive. But I mean, we like shit. So you want to fuck with stuff. You want to throw spices on it. You want to try different ways of preparing the meat, you know. You like we all of us, anybody who enjoys a cigar enjoys that shit. So it's the same thing with working on a cigar. You know, okay, great, I have a cigar that I like and everybody likes, but what else can I make? You know, how can I improve on this blend, or what can I take from this blend and play with and do differently? So that I think you never burn out on. So I think that like hitting your head against the wall, not getting things to work, absolutely, but then, you know, the love of making cigars and making unique flavors, no way.
Hey, Rob, okay.
Go ahead, Johnny.
All right, just question, man. Could you say, you know, there's some blends where you just say, you know, you throw in the towel on, you know, do you ever come back once you get like a fresh brain, maybe a more developed palate, or you know, discover some new tobacco that you can play with and tweak the blend? You know what I'm saying? Do you ever go back to those blends that you just say, hey, you know, this is not gonna work?
Yeah, because I think most of them, there's something wrong and you know kind of what's wrong with it.
Yeah.
And then so you're trying to find something that makes that right.
Yeah.
So, you know, I don't know, you know, it's missing salt, but you don't have any salt right now, or this isn't salty enough. So then you got to wait till you get something that kind of fits that profile of what you're trying to do with it. Or, you know, I don't know, like sometimes you'll get a leaf and it's an amazing leaf, but it's not processed enough, or maybe it's not a mature enough thing. Like a lot of tobaccos that we use, and for like my little fun project, a lot of these are like really small production crops.
Yeah.
So some of them, like, I don't know, it doesn't work, but maybe next year's will.
Yeah. You
know, maybe something changes, or maybe they process it differently, or maybe you can take it and continue to process the tobacco and get it to work, which we've done also. So you come back to some stuff. I think if you know it's going to be a winner, if you can get it out of the gate, but sometimes it's just like this shit's not working, and you just give up.
So Rodney also asks, what motivates you to create new tobacco? A trip to Europe, listen to music, etc. Like, what's your motivation?
Cigars, packaging, a lot of it's music, a lot of it's traveling, looking at shit. You know, like I'm a marketing branding guy, so I look at everything. I look at color combinations, restaurant logos, fashion, architecture, like all those things. I think they contribute to my creative juice when it comes to creating a package, box band, label, name, all that type of stuff, and then creating the cigar. I think that's more of a challenge actually for me. The motivation of creating a cigar is usually going to be new crops of tobacco or having access to something new that piques your interest, and you're like, oh, this is cool. And so that doesn't happen unless you're actively involved. So if you take yourself out of it's like, and I've had my ebb and flow in terms of being in the factory. Like when we launched the company, I was at the factory all the time. Then the next year I was traveling all the time for, in the US, around the world, selling cigars and that type of thing. So I didn't spend as much time in the factory. So there wasn't so much of the, hey, look at this leaf, because guys are always coming to see you. So you go down to DR or wherever, it's going to be, hey, look at this new crop, or I got this new varietal, or I'm processing it this way. So guys are always like kind of pitching you tobacco. Yeah. And if you're not present, you're missing those opportunities. And so back to your question, Jack, about my little, side project thing. I went to DR like 14, 15 times last year.
Wow.
I was there all the fucking time, tinkering, fucking with shit. And I knew right now it's not a time to come out with big brands. It's not a time to launch a ton of shit because supply chain's all fucked up. So we got to make what we make. And if we're going to launch something, it needs to be like a proper release. But you can't really just pivot and just do all this fun stuff or in a big way. It's got to be a fun thing. So I spent a lot of last year just playing with blends. And 2020 also, and the 2020, all of 2021, just being down at the factory playing with a lot of blends. And then now I got myself like 16 really cool things from 18 months of being bored. And then, so let's release that, but I can't do a lot with it also. Weird sizes, and then you can only sell so many cigars.
Right.
Well, we can only sell so many cigars. The big boys can sell a lot more.
So is there a project that you're working on or have worked on that you love to smoke that you would never release?
Oof.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yep.
What is it?
I got this. I don't even know what it is. I mean, there's a little cigar. It's I want to say it's like a 3 3/4 by 42 ring gauge. That when I was doing Hit and Run 1 with Matt, I started going down like this rabbit hole. So like we did Hit and Run 1, but then with that same blend, I got into a rabbit hole on making a really small cigar. And so I kept like developing the blend. So it's not the same blend. It has nothing to do with the same blend, but it started with that blend. And that's a cigar that I just smoked myself for fun. And I'll never release that cigar because it's not going to sell.
So what's the blend, if you don't mind me asking?
It's a Habano 2000 wrapper.
Okay.
So the Hit and Run 1 wrapper was hybrid Habano. So this is a Habano 2000 wrapper. It was hybrid Habano with a Connecticut. So this is a Habano 2000 wrapper. Binders Sumatra, and then the fillers are all Dominican, but really old filler tobaccos. And the reason I can't sell it, it's not even 4 inches, man. It's like the size of this lighter. Or not even. I mean, it's like 3.5 inch by 42. So it's like a great cigar for me to smoke.
Yeah.
But by the time you import it, you pay the taxes. It's not an inexpensive blend. It's an expensive blend. The cigar would probably have to retail for like $9 to make sense. That's a real hard sell.
I like to ask those things because, like, everybody has that one cigar, especially when you blend so many cigars, and you always want to put it together, but you just don't know how it's going to be received by the consumer, or you don't know how somebody is going to be receptive to the size change and different things of that nature. Everybody think the bigger you go on the cigar, the more bang for your buck, and the reality, that's not always true.
Nope.
I think that's actually opposite from the truth. So I like to ask those things because those get interesting. So this next question, kind of getting into that, is what is your favorite wrapper or leaf that you like to really kind of blend? What's your favorite leaf that you like to put into most of your cigars that you just love, and that's the part that always just catches you in it?
It'd probably be the Habano wrapper, because there's such a broad spectrum of flavor with Habano. I mean, and you have Habano grown in the Dominican Republic. You have Habano coming from Nicaragua. You have Habano coming from, Cuba, right? So you got Ecuadorian Habano. So there's all different types. There's Habano grown in shade, Habano grown in sun. It's just a very diverse tobacco. And I think you have a lot of flavor option out of that. And we have a couple Habanos in our portfolio of cigars, but you could build you could build 1,000 unique blends using Habano wrapper that would taste very differently. So I like that. That's to me like my favorite wrapper. So we don't use it in everything, but I mean that's what I would use in like my de facto, like, let's go and make something. I'd go for that wrapper right away.
So obviously there's different sectors of the Viso, there's different sectors of the Ligero and different things of that nature. What is your grading process? What are some things that tobacco must have before you say, hey, I use this and make a production of it?
I mean, well, we only use grade A tobacco on our blends. That's not necessarily a standard thing. I mean, a lot of guys use grade B filler and binder. Binder's usually whatever, but I mean, you don't see the inside of a cigar, so people don't care as much about that. But we do, because we kind of were taught that when we started making cigars, because you might have small imperfections that cause the cigar to burn a little bit weird, or maybe it accelerates and burns a little hotter or something because there's some weird spots in the leaf or something like this. So things that don't necessarily matter usually, but sometimes they do. So we only work with grade A tobacco that's going to be the highest quality when it comes, like, physically, construction, visually, it's always going to be just the best leaf you can use. So I mean, that's really like our one standard is we only buy and use a wrapper, binder, filler.
Well, I asked that question because it's like, I like in my father factory, they use a lot of more. They like to include a lot of pepper in their cigars, even with their Connecticut's. Even on the AJ side, they love Connecticut. Some go with the more leathery cocoa note that they get from tobacco and kind of blends that way. It's like as you said when it came to cooking, you will try different things, and when you trying to cook a steak or a new dish or something like that, but it's always that certain seasonings that you always go back to. Like, you're always gonna go to the salt and pepper. You're always gonna go to the cayenne pepper. If you're a hot guy, like, that's what I was asking.
Yeah, well, and so for us, it's not necessarily the individual tobacco that has to have this, but creating a blend, complexity. I mean, we like complex cigars. Like, I don't want to have a cigar that's complex, that's not complex, and I want balance.
Yeah.
So a lot of cigars, they're huge pepper, or they're huge spice, or they're huge nicotine. I don't like that. Most of my cigars, it's like this is like whatever the profile is of the cigar. Like, here's the spice, and then here's the complexity.
Yeah.
So it's never like out of whack. Right. I like to have that harmony with the cigar, and that's actually kind of a shitty thing for us, because, like you said, I mean, a lot of guys are going for a lot of spice, a lot of nicotine, a lot of pepper. That's what sells, but we don't make cigars that way.
Yeah.
And financially, it would be very smart to do that, because I think we'd sell more cigars if we did that. But I mean, that's not who we are as a brand. We make cigars that are balanced and complex. So the balance thing for me is, I think, the number one most important thing on a finished product. And then when you're working with tobacco that's complex, it's going to be a dynamic tobacco, and you can build something special with. And back to Anastasia, like when we launched Anastasia, a lot of guys were like, that cigar is fucking amazing.
Yeah.
And I was telling everybody, and nobody listened to me. The response was very much like, oh, it's light. I'm like, yeah, it's fucking light, but it's really complex. Yeah. And it took a long time for that to catch on. And now the number one most requested cigar we have that we don't make is Anastasia. I mean, 10 calls a week, do you have Anastasia? Because that's a cigar that was incredibly sophisticated, but it was subtle and nuanced.
Right.
And it took guys a minute to get it because we released that cigar during the massive ring gauge pepper bomb nicotine heavy frenzy that was like 3 or 4 years ago. And the industry's kind of settled back off that a little bit, where you have more people smoking smaller sizes. And, you know, a lot of these guys that make big body cigars, they're coming down and they're gearing down and they're making stuff that's a little bit, you know, like middle market in terms of strength and spice. And I think that made that cigar kind of shine. But
hey, Rob, and to piggyback off you, man, that's one thing I can definitely appreciate about Caldwell Cigars, man, because if there's one thing I absolutely hate, man, it's like a monotone, a mono flavored cigar. You know, from first third to final third, it seems like I'm smoking the same fucking thing, man. You know, there's no transition. You know, you can't break apart the different thirds in the damn smoke, man. It's just one straight shot all the way through, especially on lighter blends.
Yep.
And you know, I think that's very interesting that you say that, because I'm probably one of those guys that's like, hey, you know, pepper is good, but pepper all the time isn't. You know, like if I'm going through a cigar and the most complex note I can taste out of that damn cigar is pepper, then it's like I want to throw it out and grab something else, because it's like it's no differentiated factor. And what's the difference between this and that? I mean, the blends are practically the same when I go to smoke them. So just kind of like look, you know, hearing those thoughts. You know, some people say, hey, I like to use, and I may be saying this wrong, I like to use a grade 7 Lajero, you know, to blend however those go, and you kind of blend from there. But like I said, it's always that one note that you're absolutely looking for that you tend to always get when you blend certain cigars. So, but man, I think exactly what you're doing is great, man. I think you have, again, an awesome personality, and you know the amount of effort and complexity you put into making sure your cigar is 100% grade A every time is simply amazing. That's a true testament to not only your work ethic, but everything that you do within the actual cigar industry, man. And we appreciate you so much.
Thank you.
So as we wrap up, Robert, there's one thing that I like to do on the virtual smoke that, man. I like our viewers, not our viewers, but our guests to pretty much drop like a gem that you feel is just on your heart that you want to put out to everybody. It doesn't necessarily have to be about cigars. It could be about anything.
Well, you got to give me some more structure, man.
All right. So it could be motivational. It could be a lesson learned throughout life. It could be anything. I mean, anything that any message that you want to give to the consumers.
Read. Motherfuckers need to read more, man. I don't have a TV in my house. Like, I don't own a fucking TV at all.
Not one.
Not one. People need to read more. I think that's very important. If you look at the most successful people in the world, they all read like a motherfucker.
Yeah. And that's a big fact. That's a
compliment. Somebody said I looked like I was lost and then found. I've been doing yard work all day. It's Sunday.
Hey, Rodney had one more question. With the business with the way business goes, do you see Lost and Found project having a long lifespan?
That's a good question. So, Lost and Found, when we started, it was a really small kind of fun project, and it's grown like crazy. So Lost and Found now, I mean, it's a big machine, right? So several years ago, we kind of saw that it was picking up, like right before the pandemic, and we said, okay, well, we got to figure out what's stage 2 of Lost and Found, because eventually there's not going to be anything that was lost. So, and that was accelerated through the pandemic. So we got about 100,000 cigars left that we have on different purchase orders and stuff that are coming in that we have acquired from manufacturers that are lost. But then starting 2 years ago, we produced cigars that we aged
a very long time. And then so Lost and Found is going to turn the corner being front, it's no longer going to be, there might be like a drop here or there. That's something that we found. But during the pandemic, there's nothing left. Like guys got like anything that was in those aging rooms, that shit got shipped out. And you saw it. Everybody released paper packs with stickers on them. And they just got all this shit out of the aging room. So a lot of that inventory that probably would have ended up in our hands, it's not there anymore. And we just thought we were going to work our way through what we were interested in buying, which also happened. So by the end of this year, there's not going to be anything lost to find. So Lost and Found, starting next month, we have a project called Instant Classic that we released a couple of years ago. That's a manufactured brand. So we made those cigars in 2019, I believe, aged 2 years. That'll be released. And then we have one called 22 Minutes to Midnight that we also manufactured. So there'll be very, very aged cigars that we made. And then also trying to specialize more specialty tobaccos, more smaller lot, like very small production concepts that would make zero sense to do for anybody as a brand. So it'll change in terms of what it is, but the brand, I assume, will keep growing.
And just to kind of piggyback off of that, as Robert said, when it Rodney, I think Lost and Found again was really, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it was really projects that was built by stuff that either people committed to that changed their mind and it was just sitting there, or it was things that somebody thought the blend was great. They put it in production, went to go do the validation process and realized it wasn't what they expected. And
No.
things. No. Oh, okay.
Both of those incorrect.
Okay.
But you know where you got that? There was a couple press releases that said shit like that.
Yeah.
But guys put that out there, I think, trying to fuck with a brand. So Lost and Found was always, it started out as limited edition cigars.
Okay.
That had been, so if you make 10,000 cigars for limited edition, like you make 1,000 boxes, right? 10 cigars per box. Yeah. They always make a little more.
Mm.
So there's always like a little bit more. So they sell 10,000 and there's like a little bit left over. So that's what the first ones were.
Gotcha.
And then a lot of it was discontinued sizes. So that's why a lot of them were like Coronas, Lanceros, stuff like that guys stopped making that were super aged. And then it turned into a lot of stuff that was sorted out by color. So it was too dark or too light for what the brand was. Mm-hmm. And then in addition to that, also it was discontinued brands. So you have like one manufacturer, they cut an entire line. It was a great line, but it didn't sell for whatever reason. Great fucking cigars. And by the time we got to them, they were like 7 or 8 years old. And I think one of the issues that they had was the cigar, it didn't burn well. But then aging 7 years, it burned fucking beautifully.
Right.
And then by the time we brought that to market, it worked very well. So Lost and Found was that. So it was color sorting, overruns on limited edition stuff, and then discontinued sizes, and then discontinued brand concepts. But a lot of guys. So there was articles that came out that said it was like factory seconds, or it was like blends that didn't work, and it was shit like that. And I don't know why those came out. It was mainly from one news source, and I think it was just a shit on the brand because they didn't like what we were doing. So they tried to push people off it by making it look like we were buying stuff that didn't work.
Yeah.
So that's kind of, and that's probably where you got that from, because that's a good news source that published that. But that's not what the brand was.
Well, I'm actually thankful for the clarity, because I mean, you have people that would never known outside of hearing it more from your mouth, but getting it on the show and hearing it from that standpoint, man, it really helps. So I definitely appreciate that insight.
No, my pleasure. Yeah, and unfortunately, like you Google it and you start looking at articles, there's one publisher that's produced a couple of articles that said that that's what we did, and I'm like, fuck you. So
and you can't. I mean, you technically can sue for defamation, right?
Yeah, or a spaceship.
Or well, the spaceship is a little out of the
fucking spaceship.
Hey, go get with Elon Musk, man. No,
Matt Booth is the original astronaut. Where we at? A minute, an hour, 6 minutes, and 30 seconds.
Yeah.
You seen how many brands are putting fucking?
Yes.
Everybody's putting astronauts. Matt Booth did it first.
Very much so. Very much so. And he actually coming out with that. He's coming out with the release of that.
Yeah, but he had like years ago Johnny Tobacconaut.
Yes,
that was the original drop, and now everybody's ripping him. Like everybody's ripping him.
Everybody. Well, Rob, man, it's a pleasure talking to you, man. I appreciate you so much for coming on to the show. You know, and everything that you doing in the industry, as I stated, man. Great guy, man. So I appreciate you so much.
Thank you. Likewise.
All right, my brother. You be safe, my brother.
All right, you too.
Hey, man. One thing I love about this virtual smoke that, man, you never know what you're going to get on here, man. I mean, hearing that bombshell at the end really helped clarify not only Lost and Found, but it also helped, you know, establish that, hey, Robert's not here to fuck around, man. Whatever he's producing, he's putting his hands to it. He's putting his taste buds to it and producing the best quality product. And that's one thing I love to hear when we have these conversations with different people on this show, man. That's the purpose of our show. It's not to talk about, you know, how many different blends are you going to come out with? How many different things? How many of that? Like, no. I mean, let's just have conversation. I already know when him and Matt Boo comes out with their podcast. Jesus Christ! Just please don't air it on Sunday. And he hears me still. Please don't air it on Sunday at 7:00. I can't afford to have everybody dropping my show to come see yours, man. Do it like on a Monday at 4. Where everybody can watch. Hey, that's actually a good idea. Monday after 4 or about 5, when everybody's on their way home, they throw it on the dashboard. Man, hey, look, I just gave you an idea, but I might steal it first. So, man, hey, this is the virtual smoke that, man. I appreciate you guys tuning in. I'm not sure what happened with Johnny, but hey, at the end of the day, I know he'd love to be here, man. If y'all new to the channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, turn that notification bell, give us a huge thumb up. If you're looking for all your cigar needs and wants, man, go to dapperdcigars.com. That is our official sponsor on the virtual smoke deck. And also go like and follow our Facebook page and go follow our Instagram, man. We actually just started our Instagram. Here it is right here, man. Go ahead and follow our Instagram on IG, the virtual smoke deck, for all the updated content to know who we got coming on. Obviously, Facebook will be able to get you that too. But more or less than anything, man, go support the Instagram, man. You guys, man, don't nobody want to follow you. Look, you come on the show and you just talk shit all day. So why would people want to follow you? Man, go ahead and put your damn Instagram up there so we can put it on the show, man. Hey, we appreciate you, Rodney. Hey, but yeah, man, we appreciate you guys, man. Go ahead and follow us on Instagram. I'm Jack the Cigar Enthusiast, man. You better hurry up because I'm about to press the end the broadcast. You got 2 seconds. 1. Shit, I actually gave you like 5 seconds right there. Man, I'm Jack the Cigar Enthusiast, man. I hope you guys enjoyed this segment. I appreciate you guys. I'll see you next Sunday for an episode. Man, here you go. Man, I appreciate you guys, man. I'll see you guys next Sunday. I'm Jack the Cigar Enthusiast, and I'm gone.